Hi, everyone, and welcome to It All Starts With a Wish podcast. My name is Rachel.
And I'm Mark.
And we're so excited to be starting the very first episode of this podcast.
Yes, we are. This is something that, we've been thinking about for a little while, and so it's cool to actually be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, basically today, we wanted to introduce ourselves to kick off our first episode of this amazing podcast. I am Rachel, as I said before, and
She is, in fact, Rachel. It's true.
In case you didn't get it, I just wanted to make sure. And I have been a travel agent with Mickey Travels, a diamond level agency, which I'll talk about in a later. It's a big deal.
She likes to talk about that a lot, so
yeah,
we'll talk about that later.
Save it for a different time.
Yeah.
And I've been with them for about 2 years now, and I love it so much. And I basically got into it because we go to Disney all the time, and I love Disney, and I like to plan and organize, and family and friends kind of ask me questions a lot. Well, they ask both of us questions a lot. So
all the time they ask us questions.
All the time.
All the time.
So it just kind of fell into place that there was a job, a focus on Disney and the planning and the skills and the knowledge that I already know. And I get to share it with all kinds of families and help them create magical vacations. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's a huge reason why we wanted to start this podcast, is because, you say a lot of the same things to everyone all the time.
It's a lot of the same questions.
It is.
Yeah, there's themes.
There are themes, and so we thought that this would be a good way for us to take conversations that we have all the time anyways.
Yeah.
And to actually, you say something really cool sometimes, and you're like, oh, that was great. But then you're like, darn it, what did I just say? And then you forget, right?
Yeah, you need to have, someone writing down everything you're saying.
Literally, following you around and, jotting it down. So we figured that this was the best way to record some of the information that we like to share with people. And, heck, if we're going to talk about Disney, we might as well, do something with it that's valuable for other people, too.
Yeah, no, definitely having this as a little handbook or, a little secret weapon that you have. We'll talk about different subjects. Obviously, the big ones that I think, the frequently asked questions that I get as a travel agent or just we've gotten from friends and family, but then, dive a little deeper into some other things I think would be cool and do some of those not as well-known things. I don't want to give away all our tricks, though.
No, definitely
not all of them, but most of them.
Yeah,
we'll keep some of them.
Yeah, we'll keep some of them to ourselves.
Yeah,
but this is a valuable opportunity, I think, for folks to join in the conversation with us and to hear a little bit about what we think about certain things and how you can plan your next magical vacation at any of the Walt Disney World portfolio, as they like to say.
There's a list.
There is a very big list.
And some destinations that, I think people don't even think of we all know Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. There's Disneyland, California. I think those are the two big ones. Disney Cruise Line, I think, is up there with people know that exists. And it's fairly popular. Then you kind of shift over into the things that I think many people don't know exist. They have Aulani.
One of my faves.
In Oahu, Hawaii. We've been there on our honeymoon. Again, we can go. I think we can do multiple podcasts.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that's very in-depth. Then we have Adventures by Disney. And a lot of people don't know what those are. And, there are some really cool South African vacations. You can go to Western Europe. You can do Alaska. Antarctica is one of them. That's
really cold. Really cold.
Very, very chilly. But there are so many things that people don't even know are associated with Disney that, it's a big umbrella term, but there's so many things for everybody underneath that umbrella term. So hopefully we can hit on all of those.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that and more. But today, I think we want to talk a little bit about why. Why Disney, and in many ways, right, multiple perspectives of that. Why we're doing this podcast. Why Walt Disney was inspired to create some of the theme parks. why we keep going back and why others keep going back to these
Yeah.
places.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah,
you're a historian, right?
I sure am.
Do you know why Walt Disney would have started such a thing?
You know, funny that you should ask that. I do know. Goodness,
I
that
figured
was...
you would.
Yeah, you know, I know these things. As Rachel has mentioned, I am a historian in the real world. And so I like to bring some history. And there's this really neat story that I think is very telling for why Walt Disney himself decides to create, specifically at that point, you know, the Walt Disney Company and movies and other things, cartoons had already been created.
Yeah.
Right? But really kind of the inception, the beginning of Disneyland as this theme park that people could go and visit. And, you know, historians will argue this. Some people say that he had the idea for for Disneyland long before this specific moment. But I think that there's this really cool soundbite that Disney himself gives us of one particular afternoon where he was sitting in Griffith Park in Los Angeles, and he's sitting there watching his two daughters as they're riding the merry-go-round. And Disney said, you know, it was his daddy's day, and he would take his daughters, and they're riding the merry-go-round, and he would be sitting there on a bench eating peanuts. And maybe we can picture this all happening, you know, dad sitting there watching his daughters eating peanuts. And he said this, and I'm going to actually quote Walt Disney here, because I think it's a pretty interesting quote. He said, quote, "And sitting there alone, I felt there should be something built, some kind of family park where parents and children could have fun together," end quote. And I think, you know, that idea speaks to why the Walt Disney Company, I think, has become so successful with the vacation locales that they have.
Yeah.
This idea that they are building a place where everyone, you know, parents and children, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone in a family, whatever your family looks like, whatever your family is, people of multiple generations could come together and have fun in a place together.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something that I personally relate to. First time I went to Disney was when I was 2 years old. And we've gone every 2 or 3 years since as a family. And I think that idea of going as a family, sure, we love the parks, sure, we love Disney, but it's a way for the whole family to get together, for everyone to have fun together. And now, with our own family, right, we look forward to those opportunities too with our children. But I do think that it's that idea of bringing people together, right, across generations. Nowadays, everybody's like, oh, boomers, or oh, Gen Z, or whatever.
Millennials.
Right, like we're so like apart from each other, and we look at each other and call
Like,
each
can
other
we
names.
coexist? Can we have fun together? Can a boomer and a Gen Z both have fun on the teacups? Of course they can.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they really
Disney
can.
was ahead of his time.
He was.
He was just...
He was. Bringing people together, man. Yeah. And I think that the Walt Disney Company, at its heart, when it is most successful, is when it is adhering to those ideas that it's an intergenerational opportunity where everybody can come together, can have fun together, and experience these places together.
Both of those things, both parts of old and young, parts of the family together.
The ride that always comes to mind for me, at least, is Pirates of the Caribbean. I think that that ride is perhaps one of the best examples of a Walt Disney ride that is intergenerational, that everyone in the family can enjoy. You got some thrills, you got a little drop.
Just a little
You know,
one.
it's just enough that little kids aren't going to be totally, you know, ruined by it.
I'm terrified.
But, you know, it'll give the adults a little bit of an, ooh, that was kind of fun. And then you're just immersed in this story that whether you're 9 years old, whether you're 9 months old, whether you're 99 years old, all of a sudden you're singing along with yo ho, a pirate's life for me, and you're ready to be a pirate.
You're ready. You're off that ride and you're like, I am a pirate.
You are. Like, you always think you're a pirate, which is ironic when you think that the pirates in real life were really not like great people and heroes, and were really quite awful, by and large, human beings. But nonetheless,
But
by
that's
the end of
Disney.
that ride, man, you're like ready to be a pirate. And I really think, that ride is a great example. Haunted Mansion's another one, to the point where, everybody in the family, there's enough to get a little thrill and a little scare
A
out
little
of it.
spooky,
But
yeah.
it's also kind of fun and like lively, when you get to the graveyard scene in the ride, and all these ghosts are singing, and sure, this thing's popping out at you, but it's not so scary that a little one is going to be totally
It's not haunted house-esque, I
no.
guess. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
they're not
meant
going to be
to scare.
traumatized by the experience, but it is scary enough that it keeps us all, thinking that maybe a ghost is following us home at the end of the ride or something like that.
I do have to say that after riding that ride, as what I can remember from that ride at like 7 years old, I do kind of remember being a little creeped out, and because I didn't like, I still am not a haunted house person. I will not go to fright nights, or I will not subject myself to that kind of scariness. And I remember being like, why would I go into like a haunted house? It's a haunted mansion. Like, come on, Mom. Like, it says
It is
haunted.
in the name.
It is in the name. And they're like, no, 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 it's not that scary. It's not that scary. It's not, even though it's haunted. And I was like, okay, a little bit. And I can kind of remember that if anyone listening has been on that ride, that very first time where the wallpapers start to blink at you and it gets real dark, kind of remember being like, I think I'm kind of terrified because I just didn't know what was happening. And I remember my dad telling me to open my eyes when we were in the part where they pop up as like hitchhiking ghosts.
Yeah.
And you can see in your doom buggy that they're in there with you. And he was like, Rachel, it's funny. Look, like they're taking your heads. And I remember I would not look. I was like, no, I'm not. I cannot look. Something is going to pop out and terrify me. But after that, going again later, I remember I was like, wow, this is a totally different ride than what I remember as a little kid. I was like, this is actually really fun, and I would like to do this multiple times. Well, that's just a little story about my Haunted Mansion experience. But
So maybe the Haunted Mansion is not the best example for you, but Pirates I really think is. But I do think that it's this idea of everyone in the family having this opportunity to have fun in their own way. Whether that's sitting by the pool at the hotel and relaxing together, going out for a nice meal, or riding a ride together. That there is a little bit of something for everyone, no matter what your interest is. I think that that's as Walt intended it to be.
yeah, and even at each park, I definitely think maybe at the beginning, not as much, but currently, I think there is something at every park that fits the thrill seeker and also fits the not so thrill seeker. And to even put, another family spin, like our own family spin on this, we have my mother-in-law who is not a ride person.
Not at all. She rode Thunder Mountain once. It is still something that has traumatized the family collectively. We have group trauma as a result of this one ride on Thunder Mountain.
She tried. She tried it.
She tried.
She tried it. But even her, or even someone who is not, he also has a niece who's not a ride person. And, even his nephew is getting better, I think, with rides, but definitely not a thrill seeker. But still, goes every time and still finds something. And I think that, even in our own family, we have so many different personalities. And yet we still go every other year and still find that fun time together. So, I think with that, with our family being as Disney as we are, it's a good segue to talk about why we're even doing this podcast. So,
yeah, our family makes us crazy, so we want to talk about... No, I'm just joking. That's not at all what we want to talk about. But we are a Disney family, and I'm sure that there are many of you out there that consider yourselves Disney families, whatever your family may look like.
yeah.
And so we really wanted to do this podcast, and by we, I mean mostly Rachel, and she dragged me into this. But I'm happy to be here now that I've been dragged into it. We really intend for this podcast to, if you are someone who is unsure whether or not your family is right for a Disney vacation, or maybe you are someone who has gone on a Disney vacation before and maybe didn't have quite as magical time as you thought because of different circumstances, or maybe you've been to Disney 100 times and want to go again. We hope that this podcast can provide you with some helpful tips, tricks, things that we've learned through our own experience. And God knows we talk enough about this on our own time, so we might as well record it and put it out on the air to benefit everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that we could probably average at least 15 to 20 minutes a day talking about something Disney related, whether that be some news drop or my job. I always talk about, different clients and what they're up to and what they should and shouldn't do based on, their own specific needs. So we're always talking about it, always.
It truly is an obsession in every sense of the word obsession.
Well, there could be other things that are worse to be obsessed with.
Oh, absolutely. But
So,
it is an obsession.
yeah.
We do have a Disney problem, and we admit that we have a Disney problem.
Yes. But our problem can be other people's solution. And that is our hope of doing this podcast, that we can use our Disney addiction problem and help you with your planning process, or just feed your own addiction. If you just want to listen to other people talk about Disney and comment and chat with us about more Disney, we would love that. We just always talk about Disney.
We do. It's true. We go on other vacations and we compare other places to Disney.
It's bad.
It is bad.
Yeah.
It's very bad.
The 4th of July just passed, and I will always share this one post that says, you're at your local fireworks show, and it says, quote, it's not Disney.
It's not, but they try really hard.
They do try really hard at your local.
It's
You
very
just can't beat
difficult.
Disney.
Well, it's tough when you're synchronized to music and light projections, and even in some places like Disneyland Paris, even drones getting involved. So
yes, have you seen them?
Too.
Have you seen videos?
I've seen video of it.
They're
yes.
really cool.
Neither of us have ever been to Disneyland Paris.
But I have seen videos, and it looks really cool.
It does look really cool. But there is more than fireworks that keeps our family coming back again.
So much more.
And again to Disney World. So what is it?
Well, for me, I definitely think it is the nostalgia. And it is that feeling of being in your own little Disney World bubble once you drive down Buena Vista Boulevard and you see the Mickey sign, and once you pass under that, it's like, poof, all responsibility and adult worries kind of take a back burner. They're still there. You still think about them. We have a child now, so I'm sure on this trip, I'm still going to be running through a million different things in my head of what he needs, what he doesn't need, this and that. But really, it's like the outside world disappears. And then just for that time of that vacation, it can just be you and your family.
Mm-hmm. And put all the rest of those worries and everything to the side. A few years ago during the pandemic, sports teams, to try to keep the leagues running and stuff, they went into a bubble. That's what they were. The terminology that they would use was they were in a bubble and nobody had contact really with the outside world. And you really do get that feeling at Disney that you can shut off all those worries of work and life and mortgage payments and bills and all the other things that are constantly swirling in your head.
They have the saying that, calories don't count in Disney.
Yeah.
And, budgets don't count in Disney. They do. You should budget.
True. Both of those things are not true at all.
And the calories do count. You will feel them later. But while you're there, they don't matter. It's okay. And, you can have little kids wearing their, Mickey outfits. Every dad in Animal Kingdom with that red Hakuna Matata shirt. I see you.
So listen, I have a problem with that red Hakuna Matata shirt.
Why?
Okay, everybody wears it. I'm getting sick of it. Like, honestly, like, we need something else here. Like, dads, fellow dads, can we stop wearing the Timon and Pumbaa Hakuna Matata shirt? Like, it
Do
really,
you have a
that is a pet
suggestion?
peeve. No, I don't.
You
I have
don't.
no way to make this better. I'm just complaining about a problem like everybody else does. You
Well,
know,
I don't.
just
I don't
complaining.
really have a problem as far as moms and women. I think we keep it very fashionable, and I think with our lounge fly bags and mini ears and
Mini ears, yeah.
we keep it diverse. I do think the
Grown
gentleman.
adults wearing mini ears, probably not a great thing, but we
This is.
overlook it because we're in Disney, to our earlier
It doesn't
point.
matter. You can rock head to toe Mickey stuff, and no one is going to question you. Honestly, you'll get complimented.
It's true.
They're going to love your outfit.
Anywhere else in the world, you would be looked at as a weirdo, but in Disney, you are not only accepted, but you are like,
You're an influencer.
you are an influencer.
You are. So maybe you can
Watch
start.
YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, you know.
Maybe you can start influencing other dads with your outfits. So maybe we should find you something besides the Hakuna Matata shirt.
I don't love that. I just want to complain about the Hakuna
Okay.
Matata shirt.
All right,
Yeah,
well.
I'm just being real.
Just
But it is an opportunity for everyone to be a kid again. Mm-hmm. You know, that magic is alive, and you can almost see the magical twinkle in people's eyes.
every age.
No matter the
Like,
age. Like,
yeah.
there's something about walking around that corner in Magic Kingdom and seeing that castle for the first time on your trip, and it's just like a wave of nostalgia and just
It really
happiness
is.
comes over you. There's a great video clip
like
on
relief.
a family video of me just with this massive smile
I'll
on
have to find
my
it and put it on
face.
our social media page.
Well worth it. It's worth everybody
He
seeing
didn't
it.
know.
No idea that
The
my father
the
was...
retro video camera was panning over to him, and he didn't have a smile on his face, and then all of a sudden it's like he had that little glimmer of Disney magic, and he just started smiling. And no one was watching him, and he was just kind of standing there, and it is the quintessential Disney feeling, I think, that people get. And I appreciate the thought. I don't know if it was a thought that went into it, that you have to kind of turn a corner to see the castle.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, that's definitely part of the design. Imagineers know what they're doing, man.
I know.
That you can't see it from the outside, and you just turn that corner,
can't.
and ba-bang, right there in all of its glory,
Yeah, you
awe
walk
and
in,
wonder.
and you can't see anything from the
is
sides
Main
of that.
Street, USA.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
you just feel joy.
I'm home. That's how
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, you are home.
But it's okay for grown adults to feel like that because you're in Disney.
That's correct.
So,
What a magical place, truly.
the most magical place,
So they say.
they do say. I think
Gotta
they're
be
correct.
careful for copyright, though, because they might, isn't that copyrighted? The most magical place on earth. Answer the call. Anyways, we are now going to play a little game that I like to call
I love games.
Would You Rather?
That's very original.
I didn't say it was an original game.
Oh.
I just said it was a game.
Just thought it was gonna have like a cool name.
No,
Oh,
I'm not that creative.
okay.
So anyways, would you rather? This will be something that we'll do every week, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have any ideas of what you would like to hear us talk about in the Would You Rather segment,
You can make them hard or easy,
or both.
or choose between good things or bad things.
Anyways, send them to us. Like, we need help with this. So you send us your ideas for your Would You Rather segment. But for this week's Would You Rather segment,
I'm ready.
we are going to talk about, would you rather ride the monorail at Walt Disney World or the Walt Disney World Railroad? Would you rather?
I'm going to say the railroad, which is not something I think I thought of originally. Originally, my answer was going to be monorail.
You all can't see my face because this is a podcast, but there is a look of shock on my face.
I was going to say monorail. I was. But then I thought, if I was there right now, like, or today, or like whatever, if I was there, which one would I rather be on? And I think railroad. Because I don't really know why. I think the scenery is better. You can, like, people watch and I don't know. It's outside. Like there's fresh air. And just going through the resorts on the monorail just doesn't seem fun to me right now.
You did a great job of defending your answer.
Thank you. I felt like I had to defend it.
You should have felt like
You're
you had to
looking at
defend
me
it because that was
very
a bold
disappointed.
statement that I do not agree with. Ladies and gentlemen, I will pick the Walt Disney World monorail because there is nothing like the highway in the sky that is the monorail system. Whether you are traveling around
To parks or
the Seven Seas Lagoon to each one of the lovely deluxe resort hotels, Contemporary, Grand Floridian, Polynesian, along that route, taking you right to the very front of the most magical place on earth,
so
the Magic
sorry
Kingdom.
to interrupt you, but today, Mickey Blog, the company I work for, Mickey Travels, has a travel blog. And
At the time of filming,
at the time of filming,
recording,
filming, talking, they just had a thing that Florida voted that the Contemporary Resort is the ugliest building in Florida.
this can be a topic of discussion for a later
Yes.
podcast.
Just thought it was interesting.
That is interesting.
It just came into my head because you were naming off the lovely resorts. And
We will have to discuss this
Yeah.
at a later date because I think that would make a wonderful
is
topic
it
for
ugly? I
discussion.
don't know. But the monorail goes through it. So back to your monorail.
That's pretty darn cool.
That is
and
cool.
you can also take the monorail from the Transportation and Ticket Center on that very loop that takes you to the Magic Kingdom to Epcot as well. So there's a lot of options here. So not only are you circumventing a park like you do on the railroad,
Right.
but you can also go to 2 different theme parks by riding on the monorail while you're at Walt Disney World.
That's true.
And it's pretty incredible technology. Still to this day, I would argue, it's still ahead of its time in many ways. Walt Disney once envisioned a world
That
in which
everyone
all
would
of our
have
cities would have
monorails.
monorails.
I mean,
Yet
there's
to
some
come to
cities that have like
fruition.
subways that look like that kind of, right? And not as sleek as the monorail.
Yeah.
Like the futuristic look of
Not
it.
quite as cool.
But don't they have kind of like subways like up high?
Sure, in certain
They
places.
do in the Incredibles movie.
Yeah, well,
You know,
The
the
Incredibles
first-
isn't real, so...
I didn't know if it was based off of something real.
Anyways, I will say this, though, about the Walt Disney World Railroad. There's something deep down inside of me which loves the nostalgia of an actual coal-burning steam engine, chugging along, billowing smoke into the air and blowing the whistle. And, there is something very cool about that
And Walt
experience as
loved
well.
trains.
Walt
And
did
that's
love
why
trains.
it's incorporated into that because he's very into trains.
Absolutely.
Fun
And
fact.
I, too, do love trains. And
This is
so neither of those are a bad option. But if I was to pick, definitely the monorail.
Well,
We'll
maybe
agree.
we'll agree eventually. I don't know.
We'll agree to disagree.
Yeah.
This could be a fun experiment for this segment of the show. How often do we actually agree on a would you rather?
Really interesting.
So, folks, we are reaching the end of our time together. This has been a whole lot of fun for us.
This has been a lot of fun.
And so we look forward to doing this for you more into the future.
Yeah.
And so if you do have any ideas for things that you would like us to cover in any of our podcast episodes, feel free to reach out to us directly. And remember to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can also send us an email at Darn it, I messed that up.
That's
Let's
okay.
try that again.
Try it again.
You can also send us an email at startswithawish.podcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Any final thoughts before we send off? Sign off?
Sign off and send these lovely people on with their day.
Yes.
Just Disney's amazing. And I hope everyone has a magical day. Or night.
You heard it
Or-
here first, folks. Disney is amazing, and we hope you have a magical day. With that being said, remember, it all starts with a wish. We'll see you next time.
Bye.